yeah,
these are the various
the
pieces
reviews,
under
okay.
that.
Within that, we'll get into that, and can you scroll down that for a second?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it? Okay, fine. So, okay, well, let's start the meeting. Welcome guests, and are there any public comments?
All set.
Okay, thanks. So let's get right into it. So, review and approval of, okay, current, where do you want to go?
Review of current hiring and adjustments to the projected budget with Rick Crowley.
Okay, so Rick Crowley, and I do want to make one comment here. We refer to Rick as our CFO. He's really our sort of pro bono financial overseer here, so I want to be correct about
that. Not completely pro bono, I hope,
but I just want to make sure that people realize that this is not a corporation that has a CEO, CFO structure, and that the fact that we refer to him as that does not confer any special liabilities or rights to Rick. He's really here to help us in terms of preparing the tabulations for the spreadsheets that you see in front of us right now. So anyway, so we've called the meeting to order, so we're ready to go. So Rick, do you want to start in with
Sure. What I've done to this model since you saw it last is put in what's in the June financials through last night and updated the projections for this fiscal year, and with a bit of a cushion that I have in there, which is about $15,000 for those expenses that we may not have got invoices for, maybe in the process. We end up pretty darn close to where, well, one other piece. Putting in that, we would have ended up right around $27,000 in profit. What Tony just found out 30 minutes ago is that our reimbursement from the state that is going to be received tomorrow is about $100,000 higher than we had projected. We had projected 220 and it's coming in 320. And we're not.
Bummer.
Yeah, it's terrible. So that means, that now is in the numbers which I just did in the last half hour, and we now have a profit for this year, an estimated profit for the year we're in, of $128,000.
Okay, could this relate to the additional sped that we do or anything like that? Is there some kind of formula? Because I know that in certain cases we get higher reimbursements based on taking on special, because I know we have a higher sped.
And to be clear to anyone watching at home, profit is really a point in time in a cash flow.
It's, again, we are not a corporation.
The next month we can be a profit of negative 68,000.
Right.
So it's just for those watching on
point well taken, Gordon. As a caveat, these all are moments
like
in time, and cash flows will change because demands will change as we have certain incoming, so too will we have certain outgoing. So
you're fat when the checks come in, and then you get lean as before the next checks, just so everybody gets that.
That is correct. Surplus is the term often used.
Because I made the mistake
use that
of saying, what is a profit?
Yeah, it's definitely a better term.
So we have a surplus.
Right.
The cash situation, to your point, is a total different animal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because what you said, we're in a position where we receive our revenue, if you will, on the last day of each quarter in arrears. So that creates all sorts of cash flow issues.
But since we owe so much money, and if you look at our ultimate P&L, because there's no shareholders to distribute that to, and yet do we really have it as a profit? Not if we paid all our bills, we wouldn't. So it's not going to.
Okay, so we have that in terms of the incoming, so to speak. We had a discussion at the last Finance Committee meeting. I'm not sure, Ricky, maybe had to go a little later, but we had some correspondence about some discussion about some new positions that I think Dave has probably a better handle on than anyone here, but we had the director for community.
So it's on the, if you go to the head count tab when we go
okay, I'm sorry.
No,
that was a main concern.
Don't apologize that we're under short. Then what I did, and so that's this fiscal year that we're in. It looks like there's a surplus. What Tony and I just did in the last hour is we attempted to get in all of the head counts that are requested. That's now reflected in the numbers for next fiscal year, and that model, when last we met, it was showing a surplus next fiscal year of about 300,000, 303,000 if my memory serves me. Now it's showing a surplus. Let's get this bigger.
Thanks, Tony.
Now it's showing a surplus of only 110.
Oh, there you go.
That's
Is
what
that okay, everybody?
That's what the added
Easier to see.
positions. That's what
That's what the added,
all
yeah.
of the added positions. And we can, again, being sensitive to time, what we can do is why don't we go to that tab, because that's really what it's about. These are all of the, we now have, 4 special ed instructors and a special ed director. We've added a music teacher, a theater teacher, a director of arts integration and instruction.
Is support right there, is that under admin, is that?
That's the director of, I'm not sure what the support underneath it is, but that's, if you look in the whole cell there, it's the director of Students, Family, and Community, SFC.
Okay, but that's that. How about the one below it, support? Is that, in other words, when Ruthie says,
Oh, you know what, that's
we need a
the,
secretary.
that's correct.
Don't
That's what
expect
that
us
is.
to do this next year, and I went, you got my word. We will not
That's-
be
that's
calling
what
you
that is.
into the phone. Yeah,
Yeah,
good. Because that's a fair amount.
So that's the support position, Tony?
Yeah.
Just to-
Okay. And they're full-time.
yeah, just running through it from the top, basically, and then this won't take too long, but you got your executive director, head of school, program coordinator, special education director, director of student life and PE. That's the sort of, that title may change, but that was where Damon Nielsen would develop an athletic program that was around culture of school and developing not just physically, but in terms of values and character. Then nurse, and it is in there at a salary, IT support, director of students, families, and community, and executive assistant. Then you have your 10 academic teachers down below. Some of these have been adjusted because they've now moved from being projected amounts to actual salaries that have gone out and been accepted. Then beneath those, we increased from the last time we met from 2 special ed to 4, which came out of the program committee meeting, and then a teacher of Spanish. The 2 summer staff that are listed there, you'll see there's no salary there because their start date, though that program will be taught by instructors who will be staying on and working with those kids next year, and so the amount for your summer program is actually carried up above in those salaries. Director of Arts Integration and Instruction, a full-time music teacher and a part-time 2 days a week theater teacher.
Tony, does that mean these come out, these right here? You're saying the functions captured up there?
No, that may be for, which is a lot though. I'm not sure where that amount came from because Carol Kennedy Hurley, she's the director of the summer programs, that's summer program coordinator, and that's carried in her salary up above, which starts July 1. The 2 summer staff would be in those 2, just to check it, Rick, quickly. If you go up to that first special ed teacher in the column at 37,000. What's the start date you have for her?
That is August 1.
So actually we need to leave some amount in there, which would be those, so I'd leave the 2 summer staff salaries because it's only a 2-week program.
Okay.
But really, I mean, you wouldn't actually because they start August 1, so salaries are in there. So actually I'd take it out.
Are there 15 teachers? I can't see what's above the line above 24.
Above the line 24.
Nope, that's it. There are 15 teachers.
Yeah, it all depends on how you count it, Gordo, because you got your part-time music, full-time
Oh, I
music,
wasn't
part-time
catching those
theater,
guys at the bottom.
Director
No,
of
right.
Arts and Integration.
Yeah. Well, I guess my next thing is how many chiefs are there? Yeah, there's 15 Indians, except there weren't. There's 17 Indians if you count the music and theater people. So can you go back to the top? Director of Arts is 1, though. I'm just curious. I'm not making it.
Well, the Director of Arts Integration, again, Gordo, just in terms of how you're defining chief.
Yeah.
She teaches full-time art as well.
Oh, okay. Oh,
so
right.
you can't see it as a pure administrative
I see.
position,
So
which
she's
often
kind
when
of-
you use the
yeah.
term
All right, so
chief,
let's call it
that's what that
18.
means.
1, 2,
Good question.
3, 4, 5. Nurse counselor's not an it chief. Director of SFC is 6. And
That's a
okay.
full-time
All right.
nurse,
Is that a ratio that is 6 chiefs to 18 Indians?
Well, I would, it's not my call, but I would say not all these roles are supervising faculty and staff, so I think there's...
Some of the running of the school, okay,
there's different job descriptions would probably give you a better sense on that. Obviously, a nurse counselor, you know, the director of SFC, whatever. I guess, first, a quick question, excuse me, Rick, for not knowing this, but the difference between this, are those new salaries on the left side of the
Yes.
column D?
Yes.
Those are new additions, correct?
Or changes.
Or changes,
yes.
okay,
And
fine.
those kick in August.
Okay.
Yeah, it's making a
For the most
distinction really, James,
Okay.
between their annual salary this year and what that
Okay.
the person in that position, who might be someone different, but what they're going to be earning next year.
Okay.
And does the program coordinator say 80 next to it? Is that my eyes? That,
Correct.
That's my
What, that wasn't 60 before?
That's my question. It was 60 before.
That's what I thought.
I have a question about why that's been increased.
Exactly, because that's what my question about, are we chief heavy in terms of dollars, blah, blah, blah. I'm glad to see the support in there, so it's not all chiefs and no Indians in there, you know. Because that was somewhat, you know, question.
I do think that's a question we need to raise.
Okay.
Actually, when we're talking
Okay, so we can bring this up with the program?
line. Program didn't make that decision.
Okay. Well, we'll find out. Is that, so we're
It's not a
all,
program
now are these
decision.
all committed to, or where are we on the, is this the wish list, or is this the final list, or where are we?
Well, it's a
on
good,
this?
in terms of just defining how this is put together. Obviously, your 10 classroom teachers, one for each section. You have 10 sections,
Okay.
2 of 2, 3, 2 of 4, 5, 4 of 6, 7, 2 of 8. So that's, you know, there's no discussion there. The increase in special ed from 2 to 4 is looking at the overall delivery of the program with the mix of students that we have and the percent that have IEPs. Our real goal, ideally, and many schools would have the same model as a goal, very hard to achieve, would be to have 2 people in every classroom. So, you know, half of your, if you have 10 total, 4 of those would actually be special ed professionals with both the degrees and licensure to do that. And then others would be a mix of interns and paraprofessionals. But so at a minimum, given a school of 200 and the mix of students that we have, we felt 4 full-time special ed teachers plus the director of special ed, who will do some teaching. But really, the model that we've been encouraged to take on by the department, in fact, is to have outsourced the administrivia of record management, team meetings, and assessments, and to have the director of special ed focus on overseeing of staff, coordinating the dialogue and collaboration between classroom teachers and special ed teachers. And in order to pull that model off, we need 4 special ed teachers to do it well. Then we've got the Spanish teacher in there. Director of Arts Integration is in the charter. We actually, even though we had to eliminate the position to afford the increase necessary in special ed to make it through the year, if you remember, we were hammered actually at the Board of Education meeting with questions of whether we were being faithful to the charter because of that, even though it was caused by the reduction in enrollment that could be directly attributable to the commission's letter.
And one of the board members before did pick up, he point blank asked, he said, is the reason why you couldn't fill this because you were out of money, because he understood the financial situation, or was it because you changed your idea? And I think we gave him a response. It was because we got a 30% haircut starting day 1. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
And then music teacher full-time and theater arts part-time 2 days a week. So, you know, it's got the strong arts component we're looking for. It's got the special ed piece, which is both important from state compliance, but also in terms of delivery of the educational program. Director of Students, Families, and Communities, also directly in the charter. That's a person who would have a counseling background, which we really need. So either an MSW or counseling degree. And support. Everyone, I think, at this point would recognize that you can't have an administration of one essentially without any executive support of any type in the front office.
So Tommy, can I just ask about the nurse's position?
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, assuming we hire a director of students, families, and community, that person would be responsible for most of the counseling end of it.
Yeah, counselor should really come out of there.
Nurse/counselor, is that line item the going rate for a full-time nurse?
Yeah. I mean, you might get lucky and get one for 35, but you're going to be somewhere between 35 and 40. So in terms of putting the budget together, we're better to be there. Yeah. And your RN, the amount of time you have to have is based on your student body. Yeah. So this year we were fine with a part-time. In fact, we had slightly more. I think we could have had a third-time nurse and had it slightly less, but. Actually, there were a few days where she wasn't really busy. So
yeah, I think in terms of liability issues, it's not as full time.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other question I had is around the arts disciplines. We have 3 of the 4 arts disciplines represented there. Is there some discussion about juggling that to allow for a dance?
Yeah, and also we've got, we're actively hiring academic teachers who have arts background, and one of the places where we have additional space at the moment, if you think about grade 6, 7, you've got 4 the subjects, English, history, math, and science, that they all have to take. So you've got 4 teachers, 4 different subjects. A full-time equivalency is actually 5 classes. So each teacher would be expected to have 5 sections or some other responsibility that would be included in that. Mm-hmm. So with all of your 6, 7 teachers, if they're teaching, each 4 sections of science, that's all 6, 7 covered. Mm-hmm. And then you've only got the 8th grade left, and so they could either be teaching some of that, all of one half of the 8th grade, and that's completed. So you've actually got a lot of flexibility within this to have either teachers who are only teaching part-time and other teachers who are coming in to teach dance. The flexibility is actually built in there to do that. And we've got a nice mix. We actually have an offer out just now to academic teachers, also an artist who's has her work in galleries in Newburyport and had a one-person show at the Firehouse. So. We're actually finding academic teachers who are artists in their own right. Mm-hmm. But I think the question that was being raised there is one that is going to come up, whether it's based on, as Gordon was alluding to, there are norms in terms of what % of your, however you choose to look at it, but what % of your operating goes to admin, what % goes to teaching. It gets a little funky because schools all count them differently. But if you were to look at just sort of those who don't teach at the moment, so your head of school, program coordinator, and director of students, families, and community, it's a big percent. It's a high. And that may come up as we start looking at, I mean, obviously we haven't finished hiring. At the moment it's been balancing out. We pay more for some, less for others. But we may need to come back and have another look at this.
Right, because it was down from just you. Now we've gone from the sublime to the ridiculous,
And then again, this is not a final. This is just something that the board will review to see what is appropriate, and then the right questions, as Dave has some I know, and maybe some others do as well, that will come up at the appropriate time. So, but this is just a working model. And again, thank you, Rick, for the time and energy you put into this. I know there's a lot of moving parts here, especially we're in the midst of a huge, a ramp up basically in the scale of the school, and that definitely presents some challenges from a modeling point of view. Okay, well, so we, in this subject of time, because I know some people have to be out of here in literally minutes, can we move on to the next item on the agenda?
Which is update on the credit line process. Update
on the process with the credit line, exactly. So, for anyone want to take this? Rick, do you want to?
Well, Century, we've been unsuccessful in a variety of banks, primarily because we're so young.
Right.
We're so early in our financial history. Century, I think, is the only one that's still out there. And I know Tony had a visit, I think, last Friday.
Yeah, we had a great meeting actually. Jerry Bavardi came out and toured the school, very impressed by the facilities, and asked for some additional information after that, which we sent on to him. And he's putting together a proposal. He's now got a significant number of photographs of the facility, of the school in operation. He's got our financials, and indicated that obviously the fact that the state payment is known up front months in advance and is essentially guaranteed, that would weigh heavily with them. And more importantly, as you pointed out, they've actually worked with charters before.
The founding funding loans has done a lot with charter funds. And then again, this is a sort of a one-off for a lot of banks, like Rick had mentioned earlier, because we don't own the real estate here, and that's one of the wonderful things about our financial model is that there's one major asset with an even huge reliability behind it that isn't part of our program right now. So it's a benefit in some respects, but when it comes to the bankers, having been one myself for 25 or 30 years, I know that there will be a little bit of reluctance to look at something that doesn't have a strong collateral with it in terms of real estate collateral, but in terms of a payment stream collateral, I think hopefully we'll have some plus there. But we do have some other probably some ideas about talking to the DESC also if we need to, and then once the foundation comes through, we'll have a lot more access to individuals, and so Dave and I are working on the 501c3 foundation paperwork. It's not coming along as quickly as I thought. I earlier said that I hope to have it done by the end of the school year, which was yesterday. But we are probably close to like having it. I think 30, 45 days or so.
Does the 100,000 not help? Put out some of the fire?
It certainly helps, but especially with adding all these head count, we really need to get close to between 2 and 250,000 to cover up until that September payment, and then the rest of the year goes down.
Yes, that August to September.
Again, it's all the timing of the payments and stuff.
So, Tony, there was discussion last time that there was additional revenue coming in because of the sudden growth, the spike in growth in the size of the school. Does this current model
does not
include that?
No.
So we do have a possibility of some additional.
Yep.
Do we know what that's
going to be?
We don't yet. So as soon as I know, I'll bring it in and add it in there. But that's right, that's not in there. We also are not reflecting in here. There are annual grants that we get for special ed, for trying to think what else we got them for this year. And those are not reflected there either.
Well, there's also Title I.
That's right.
Okay, so what's next on okay, minor housekeeping items. Right now, I believe the only two people that can sign on the checking accounts are Tony and Joe. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's been, most of the way along, it's been just the chair of the board and the executive director. And the two pieces we ultimately need to take a look at are along with just reviewing all our financial policies, which would be a good thing just to put on the agenda for the next meeting, to do an annual walkthrough. But the limits are set quite low, so basically everything over $1,000 requires two signatures. And now the only one that's possible is the chair of the board. And
wow, so you and Joe got to get together for check signing?
We have to get together for check signing on a regular basis, and if he's gone on vacation,
and if he doesn't want to be coming this way before he goes that way, then
that's a problem too. And my suggestion would be that it would be make perfect sense for the chair of the finance committee to be added as a signatory and potentially.
You're only one exit away too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not far from it's very easy for me to get here because I work literally at exit 15, so that would be fine. Now, do we need to make a motion before the board for that, or what's the proper procedure in terms of
Well, probably for the next, it should be put on the agenda for the board.
It would seem to be a bylaw issue to me, so perhaps we can suggest governance can come up with a proper bylaw amendment to allow for that, because having two people sign is crazy. Having a minimum $1,000 is really silly.
Do you want to make a motion that we recommend this?
No, we really would. It's up to governance to change the bylaws, so we just have to bring it up.
So they know we're recommending it then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think whenever we go up to the full trustees meeting, we make motions, but as between the various groups.
The motion will probably come from governance to the board.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Change the bylaws. Yes, absolutely, Gordon. That would be absolutely correct procedure. Yeah. Okay, so that will be on our next governance meeting, and then,
That's, we did put in I didn't know if you would need it, so I put in a motion to approve.
oh,
additional
okay,
speakers.
do I hear a motion from our committee, just in case we need this? Let's just do a little risk management here right now, and make sure that we do this properly.
Okay.
Is there a motion on the table to approve signatories?
So moved.
So moved, okay,
Second.
and a second, all in favor?
I guess we gotta word it properly.
Okay, yes, Dave, thank you.
The motion would be to
Just
alter the signatories.
I don't remember you being identified.
Gentlemen, yeah. Sorry, Dave has the floor.
The motion would be to alter the signatory from 2 members of the board to 3.
Okay.
Was it members of the board, or is it
Well,
currently you're a member of the
I'm
board?
currently a member of the board, so.
From, how should we word this?
Well, I would just say from, to allow 3, because Tony soon will be not serving,
That's fine.
or ex officio, so
Right.
I would say the finance committee would recommend the trustees modify or change the bylaws to allow 3 separate individuals to sign.
And you don't need to say anything.
And you don't have
Do you
to say,
still need 2 for without?
no, this is the other thing. This would be the
Okay.
first part. The second part would be, and then to figure out what the proper upside limit is. And I honestly don't know what the best practice of that is right now. But I would assume, you know, 2,500 or something. I don't know. I mean, it's so arbitrary. I don't know where to begin.
I don't
honestly.
think this isn't currently in our bylaws, though.
It's not.
So, you want to have it in there? In the
It's
bylaws?
you know. Let me take a look at that and see if we have to get that quite picky about that. It's definitely procedure that needs to be noted someplace, so we have that, you know, covered. Usually the check writing ability, the authority for that is a bylaw issue. The authority to make financial commitments, sign financial liabilities. So I would think that would belong in there someplace. If it's not in there, then we should add it.
So what
Just
if
to
we,
be complete.
what if we go with a motion to recommend that
Review of the bylaws.
James Caviston become a signatory
Okay.
for check signing?
Okay.
Leave it at that.
Leave it at that. Okay, then we can work on it.
Well, I'll
Can
second
we
that
tie
motion.
it, sorry, I suggest you actually alter it to, because it'll fit more with something you're going to create a bylaw out of, that the chair of the finance committee become a signatory.
Yeah, that's even better.
Right.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah.
So seconded.
Thank you, Dave.
There was an actual vote there. That happened.
So,
Motion.
Do I hear a motion?
yes, Gordo seconded it, so.
Okay, all in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye. Aye, thank you. Again, my apologies for not having a better protocol style.
Who are the actual voting members right now? 1, 2, 3, or is Tony, are you on the finance committee?
Well,
Well, I mean, what I should be actually is ex officio to the board and a member of all committees in terms
Oh,
of
that's
the executive
not
director
good.
always comes to all
But
committees.
Rex apparently is not a voting member of this committee.
Right.
that's correct.
Okay.
Now, we can expand, we certainly
No,
have
no,
the
no,
right.
I just want to clarify
Exactly, okay,
that we were,
that's
A,
fine.
had a quorum,
Yeah.
B, had
Yeah,
a
we do
voting
have a quorum.
majority, and blah,
Exactly.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I don't want to give this guy any more power than he
This
wants.
is like the third meeting he's been to,
I know.
so, at least in my time.
He won his own office.
So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. 2,
So-
with the windows.
That's it.
So anyway,
Scheduled
so-
calendar meetings.
Okay, scheduled calendar meetings. I think Dave had a very good idea last meeting that we try to have as many meetings of the subcommittees as late in the month as possible, so that when the trustees meeting comes up the first week of the following month,
It's
if there are
relevant.
any open items that we can at least have a discussion that we can pass along to the trustees. So in that respect, then, whatever the July 29th, I believe, is a Wednesday.
Judge, like 29th of May, Wednesday.
Wednesday, so, and then, so we could do that, and we can schedule it anyway, and I mean, just do a little bit of a roll call beforehand to make sure everyone's not
Actually,
away.
yes, it's 29th of Friday.
29th is Friday, okay, let's move it back then to the 27th, I'm sorry, one day off.
The 27th is
Yeah,
the.
yeah, 27th, so let's tentatively schedule that for the 27th.
The Wednesday.
Yeah.
Are we done, or can I ask a question?
Well,
We're at 6:04.
We're 6:04, and some people do have to go.
Oh.
But do you want? Is it an official?
Only just this thing. How does this translate into policy? Have all these hires been told that's what they're making? Is there still that 60 to 80 question? Is that something we're painted in a corner in, or there's?
I would defer to Tony on that, because my understanding is this is not even a final list. This is just the sort of the dream list that gets us
That's
where
what
we
I
want
thought.
to be,
Fine.
and they're fine tuning things along the
Okay,
way.
fine.
Yeah, what
But again,
happened just with
that's not my call,
the
so-
program coordinator
Yeah.
position, when we made the offer to the program coordinator, she came back with a request for more, and I contacted
Okay.
the chair of the board and said, what should I do here? It's more than we had really anticipated.
Just like any give and take of any teacher that you would deal with.
Yeah, and it wouldn't, I mean, obviously it's still an internal, like, all hiring is done by the executive director, but given the impact on the budget, I wanted to get the feedback from the chair of the board before making any move there, and he said to go ahead and not go beyond it, he would suggest, but to get the hire done.
So, do I hear
Move to adjourn.
Second.
second? All in favor? Thank you very much.
Woohoo.
Tony, Mary's position, that's the program director, right?
Program coordinator,
Is she full-time?
full-time,
The nurse?
starting in July 1.
The nurse June, is she coming back next year, or is it a different nurse?
There's June can apply to come back. We're not continuing with Matt. We hire her as we subcontract her from Maxim, and we are not continuing with them. They're too expensive. So she can apply.
Maxim's like an
Anyone
agency.
can apply.
Oh,
for
that would be
sure.
great if we could do that.
Is
for the next
Maxim
2
an
minutes or so,
agency?
that'd be terrific.
Yeah, it's an agency, big, nationwide.
Yeah.
No, it's good. I just, I
And
feel
the
this sort of
copy of
weird
this,
series of
is it
events this
public?
afternoon, so.
These are all public
So I got a guy
documents.
who runs a foreman in our office, drove me up here to stick up truck.
No,
I was gonna ask to get back to
Send me a copy.
Center Manchester.
You want this computer?
Martin's making a request to get
I'm
a
sorry.
copy of this sent over.
Can you just email me a copy of this?
Sure.
I have my email.
Which you-
Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, @backshore.com, B-A-C-K-S-H-O-R-E. Thank you.
Rick, can you send
All right, so we're done, right?
Yeah, thank you very much.
See her.
Okay.